Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. In this jubilant occasion of the second Vishwashanti Havan, it is celebrated here at Hyderabad with more painstaking efforts than the Indian freedom struggle. Not because of its nature of being very expensive or not because of its nature of being very rigorous. But whenever high thinkings are there, the high thinkings must require a lot of intellectual standards in the minds of the people. And these intellectual standards of understanding the values, if they are very insufficient, if they are totally absent or crooked, to organize their mind, to organize a crowd, to organize the ingredients for the rituals, to organize the priests for the rituals, or to bring all of these transcendental tutelage from a place, all of these things are very easy when compared to that of organizing the minds of the people to create proper vigilance and diligence, proper working nature. It is not something which is to be made very evasive and perfunctory and then sharing for the efforts and sharing for the effects. So it is something very difficult to organize the minds of the people. And it will be very astonishing if you know that to organize the minds of the so-called believers of God, Astikas, is very difficult than organizing the minds of Nastikas. Because the Nastikas are very rational in nature. They have proper questions. They have proper reasons not to believe the God. Whereas the so-called Astikas, they are governed by a psychological fear or some sort of moral insufficiency or suffocation, or the coverage of the sins and their impact in their yesterday years or in their yesterday births, which is making the persons to cling towards an invisible support by which they can be freed from the troubles or get all the desirable things which they are thronging after. So, to organize in the minds of the so-called theistic community, which is totally irrational, disintegrated, unorganized and impotent in nature, it is a very arduous task. Just as I read it, very human as it was, but it was also veritable. Jesus, he cured the blind and made them to see. He made the lame to walk, and even the leprous, he has granted them cure. But fools, he could not do anything. It was a very great wondrous statement, irrespective of the religion or the meaning behind it, as it is very common to the whole global community of religious belief and practice. It is somewhat very great, and the greatness is not felt by people, and the duty of organizing the greatness is totally uncared by both the erudite and elite community, who has forgotten to lead the other so-called followers or dependents in the pathway of organizing themselves, as well as to lead the pathway of organizing others. And let us start with the understanding of rituals in a very scientific way. Whenever a person's pool of resources, as per the creation, each and every person is a reservoir of resources. Latent resources are there. Each and every person is having obvious, latent and obscure resources. The latent resources are the hidden resources which are stimulated by the association of enlightened and realized personalities. The obscure resources of each and every person. For example, obviously I know that I can become a doctor. It is my desire, it is my imitative desire or limitative desire or coercive duty or duty of emergence or duty of necessity, duty of circumstantial urge, whatever it may be. I believe that I can do something for which I am having obvious records. Records of our physical capability, intellectual capability, mental ability, or all of the other various things that we possess, that we can possess to some extent by means of associative and guidelines. So these things are very obvious. There are some latent, that is hidden potencies inside our mind, which do require somebody's association, which do require somebody's association who can understand the talent of people. For example, it is known as talent identification and talent nourishment. Each and everybody's talent is identified only by a capable person. Otherwise it will become very limited, otherwise it will become very misdirected, otherwise it will become very prosaic. So, to identify a talent, the other person, he must possess such a talent of identification of other people's talent. So this is known as latent. The third thing is obscure. According to the Shastras, each and everybody, they possess obscure talent. The talent which requires a divine urge, a divine sanction by which they can achieve everything. So, I can achieve something is an obvious talent. I can achieve something is obvious talent. I can achieve the thing that I am willing to achieve is known as latent talent. I can achieve anything and everything. Omniversatility is the obscure talent, that is the inbuilt talent with each and every person. This is how talents are identified and classified. According to the two evolutions, one is the evolution of science, second is the evolution of spiritualism. The science said that you have a lot of things hidden inside, and whenever you are connection with the material resources or manpower resources or mind resources, 3 M's. One is material, second is manpower, third is the mind resources. You can do and you can achieve everything. That is what these people they told. And there is a second thing which the spiritualist told, that apart from doing all of these things, either as a substitute you are doing or as a supplementary to your doing, there is one more pathway. This is known as invocation, the pathway of prayer. Whatever you are achieving, whatever you want to achieve, peace, comfort, there are innumerable resources. There are innumerable requirements also. Starting from the birth of a person, we need lot of things which are known as Purusharthas, which have been totally packed under the 4 major divisions of Chaturvida Purusharthas. So the inner divisions are as follows. That is Prajavancha, you want to possess a child, that is known as Prajani. Garbharaksha, protection of the womb. Shishurpatti, getting a good child or fertility. Sukha Prasava is pregnancy with ease or a productive pregnancy. Then Shishuraksha, protection of the longevity and salubrity of the child. Then Samskara Purti, then having all the rotinal as well as the so-called stipulated ceremonial rites that have been mentioned in the Shastras, that is known as Samskara Bhurti. Then Samskara Bhurtis include Jatakarma, Garbhadana, Shishuraksha, Shishuposhana, Narayana Bali, Vishnu Varpana, Chandra Darshana, Pitur Darshana, Martava Darshana, Agni Darshana, then Karnavedhi, Chauda, Jihva Lekana, Namakarana, Annaprashana, Upavita, Vivaha, Samavartana, Vidyabhasa, Brahmajnana, Upasana, Agni Siddhi, then Antyeshti, the final funeral. So including these things, there is a package. Since the dawn and the dusk of each and everybody's life, the sojourning package, it is committed with a lot of other rites which refine the person's this birth and the collection of the various negativities of the various births that have been done earlier, and also it makes a proper way for getting the future birth, either as a better birth with realization or as an advanced birth with a celestial dwelling, or the hyper advanced birth which is known as emancipation, which is a total cancelling of a person's birth unit. So a person's samskaras makes the person to be relieved from the evil impacts of his yesterday birth, also makes the person to process himself with success in the present birth, also paving the person to get either a better birth or an advanced birth or a birthlessness. So this is known as samskara. So in each and every stage of human life, he is having various packages. One is cultural package, second is social package, third is political, economical, physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, national, global. Innumerable contributions are there from a personality. Starting from each and everything, we have, for example, financial, there is a dvandva, there is a dual, that is labha and nashta. Whenever you take financial resources, there is profit and loss. Whenever you take your bodily resources, it is a disease, that is a malady and remedy. Longevity and death. In relations, harmony and disharmony. Hostility and harmony. Harmony and misunderstanding. harmony and jealousy. So innumerable instinctive clashes are there in human relations. So we want good relations amidst beings. We want good transactions amongst our financial status. We want peace and harmony in the society, starting with our family. We want to have a robust physique, and also we want to have a tranquil mind. If we have mind, then ambiguity, confusion, depression, frustration, envy, innumerable instincts, they just invade our mind, making it totally peaceless, totally making it ineffective to do any work for our betterment, and where to talk about the betterment of society or our dependents and other people. So somebody, they finalized that whatever you are doing from the first phase of resources, yes, I want to achieve by my physical might, by my mind and its application, by intellect and its inventions. All the inventions are the contributions of the higher level of mind with intellect, which has resulted in the form of the evolution of electricity, magnetism, atomic science, and various other things. So simultaneously somebody governed, the spiritualists they governed, there is a thing known as prarthana, capability and incapability. While in the material resources, capability is the investment. If you want to do something with your body, you must have physical capability. If you want to do something with the intellect, you must have intellectual capability. But in the spiritual area, incapability is the investment or the requisite to get inside. I am incapable, that is eligibility to get inside. Ashaktihi, Ajnana, I don't know, so I want to surrender. I don't know how to do, so I want to surrender. So it does not deny the person's capability, or it does not deny the person's further capability to know or do. But accepting with humility that his knowledge and capability is limited, by the process of provocation or the divine invocation, he is qualifying himself more to do something. So they told that if you want to do something, for example, for a business, no doubt you must understand the trend analysis, product analysis, project analysis, time analysis, association analysis, then registration and other formalities to be done, establishment, then a proper way of conglomerating the messages, and also execution by a tintless and taintless organization. So each and everything is there in business mathematics and business intelligence. Apart from which, the invocation towards God is a real spirit which is going to give us the real benefit. So they gave three things. Even if you are not doing all of these things, the material extensions, you can get benefit through spiritual beings. Even without doing that, one. Second, even though you are doing along with these things, as a supportive spirit, you have to get into spiritual realization. Number two. Then number three, even though you are very complete in that, without having the spiritual blessing, it is not an additive. For the first person, it is an independent mechanism, and even without doing these things, it will come for rescue. It is an independent mechanism. In the second philosophy, it is an additive mechanism. Whatever you do, it is for different type of people. For accomplished people, those who are Siddha Purushas, it is an independent mechanism. So somebody used to totally be against his independence. How it will give, no mantras will give you the mango. There are a lot of such statements in Tamil and various proverbs are there. But it is not so. For the accomplished people, this type of spiritual education, it becomes independent mechanism. For those who are having diligence, those who are having the mind and courage to execute, it is an indubitably infallible, dependent mechanism which is supportive to all of your works. The third thing, it is the ultimate fructifier for each and every act. So it concludes that each and every act, unless it is sanctioned by God, unless it is surrendered to God, it will not give you the exact benefit. When we discussed these things about the standardity of each and every scientific temper's nature and the contribution of God's belief, we discussed in one seminar on God, spirituality and science. Where we are seeing a lot of theistic scientists like Michael Faraday, Isaac Newton and Einstein. We are also seeing a lot of people who are atheistic in nature. Then what is the difference between these two people and contribution? It cannot be understood unless if you can clearly calculate rationally and logically what would have been the scientific temper of these people, those who are believers of God, if they did not believe God. And what would have been more the contribution of those people, those who already contributed, if they believed God. So they must be aware of the standard level of their contribution. For example, if a scientist, a theistic scientist has contributed 10 units for his scientific temper and innovation, without God's belief it would have been 8. If somebody else like Ingersoll or somebody else like C.N.R. Rao, their contribution 10 units or 12 units towards science. With the belief of God, certainly it would have been more than 16 or 18. So there is a standard level of scientific temper which is adjusted by means of their belief and dedication in God. So the first school of thought is totally relying upon the executive skill of human beings. Second type of school of thought of spiritualism that deals with one, taking spiritual things as independent mechanism for the seers and accomplishers. Second thing, additives for those who are astikas, those who are believing in God, it is an additive. Then the third thing is for all activities in human life, without the previous sanction, there is a previous sanction or the present sanction. I have no more to talk at all. Due to compulsion I am talking. I don't have the more to talk at all. It is not that type of crowd which is listening and it has not been organized properly. I must respect this fire and the idle script there. So, invocation to God, associative benefit without doing anything or doing something. Alpa prayatna or aprayatna or ayatna we used to call. Without doing anything or doing something in a different dimension. It does not mean that the person does not do anything. If a person does a ritual for getting dhana, for example, Bhuti Kama is a person who is interested in getting material wealth. Bhuti Kama, Aishwarya Kama, Khyati Kama, Padavi Kama, Praja Kama, Rajya Kama, Stri Kama, there are innumerable such things. And you do anything, least bother, it is my duty to vomit something from my mouth now. So there are innumerable such kamas. Each and everybody is desirous of something. For all of these people, they have to do some ritual. They have to do some sort of sanskara. What are the various things that have been given in Shastras? One is Vrata, second is Upasana, third is Kratu. Then Upasana is taking a deity, being initiated by the mantra, then contemplating on the deity till the person gets the desirous benefit. That is known as Upasana. Second is known as Vrata. Vrata is a person's restrictive status of observing some austerity till a person gets some benefit. It is different from Upasana. Upasana deals with mantra japa more and Vrata deals with the austerity, principles of restriction more. Tatra shamadamadi niyamadhikyam vrateshu abhidiyate. What is the difference between Upasana and Vrata? Upasana that deals with the incessant chanting of repetitive mantras which are there properly guided by an effective preceptor, a knowledgeable preceptor. And Vrata is austerity, that is being abstemious or abdicating in nature of food, in sleep, in dressing, in thoughts, in association, in taking a rule over the instincts and the constraints. So the third is known as Kratu. This thing is known as Kratu. Yajna, Yaga, Homa, Havana, Kratu, all of these things are synonyms of the same rituals. So according to Shastras, for getting anything that you are going to get normally by your normal execution, the Shastras they are given three major ways. One is the Kratu, second is Upasana, third is the Vrata. And Kratu is the simplest of all. In Vrata you have to drive the vehicle. In Upasana you have to drive the vehicle. And Upasana is very difficult. Vrata is just like driving a motor car. And Upasana, we have to give the simile of driving a bullock cart, being in the place of a bullock. So Upasana has lot of restrictions lot of rigidities and arduous principles, and it is very difficult to govern them. Whereas Kratu is nothing. If you are having some associative purity, some sort of loyalty and subservience to the rituals as well as the persons who are organizing that, immediately somebody will do the sankalpa and they are going to, just as a Trishanku, you know that Trishanku, who was there totally imbecile enough, being cursed by their acharyas to become a chandala, to become totally an outcast as felt by their ancestors. That the person was totally imbecile enough to lift his back. Not even the person is having the stamina to lift his back. Such a person out of the parents of Vishwamitra has been promoted, moved, established at a separate heaven. So, a separate celestial abode or a planetary system has been established by the parents of his Acharya. So, Kratu is like that. If proper entrustment, proper belief, loyalty, subservience, and what we call spiritual obedience. Spiritual obedience is entirely different. Spiritual obedience is the obedience of one's own spirit, one's mind, and it is not only obedience with folded hands and doing obeisances. All of these things are just external shows. A person with spiritual obedience, if he entrusts everything to a master saying that na dharmani shosmi na charma vedi, I don't know anything at all. I am a bundle of sins. I am a bundle of sins and a building of errors. I cannot do anything, I don't know anything. But I know something, that I am nothing. So with only this investment, I entrust myself to your divine lotus feet, and it is the duty of you to take care of me and to uplift me as per the scale of mercy, not as per the scale of evaluation or examination. As per the scale of your mercy, I am totally eligible. As Acharya said, Karunalayam means God himself is not Karunalaya. He is not the abode of mercy. His nature of being abode of mercy is meaningful only if he is merciful and if he blesses and uplifts the worst sinner of the world. The mercy of the God is fruitful and meaningful only if he showers his mercy or uplifts the person who is the worst sinner of this world. That's why great people, they ask, we are greater than you because we are giving the meaning for your Karuna Murti. We are the worst sinners of the world. So you have to prove that you are the Karuna Murti only by blessing and uplifting us. Because nobody else can be a worse sinner than me who is the worst than the worst. So unless you shower your mercy and uplift me, all of your names as that is Dayalu, Kripalu, Daya Sindhu, Ripunam api Vatsalaha, Papinam api Vatsalaha, Abad Bhandavaha, Apat Sakaya, all of these names will be totally meaningless because you have safeguarded Prahlada, then Vasishta, Draupadi, they are all great people. So by just safeguarding great people, worshipable people and your devotees, then you are totally, you are partial and your such names which claim your benevolence and magnanimity, they become meaningless. So most of the names of upliftment of the sinners of the world which is corresponding to God will be meaningful only if He protects me or us. That must be the statement of each and every person. Likewise, Kratu, it is having such a benefit, like it is very simple. It is just like traveling in a vehicle which is driven by a vigilant and a dexterous driver. So as Upasana is pulling a cart with a load, and Vrata is driving a car which has its own risk of handling it with gears, clutches and brake, along with accelerating it. Whereas Kratu is just enjoying a comfortable journey in a conducive atmosphere, in a conducive environment, by a capable driver in a compatible and competent vehicle. So that has all the plus points. So that's why the Shastras told, Yajnena yajnam ayachanta devaha tani dharmani prathamanyasan. Tani dharmani prathamanyasan. That's why it is becoming the predominant of all the other sacerdotal rites, more than anything else. And in these rituals, it is known as, what will you call in the scientific terminology about the technological background of ritual. Once we are questioned about that, then I told it is a divine form of thermodynamics. For example, we are seeing fire here. Normally, a person's blind vision means it is not blind vision, just naked vision or peripheral vision or apparent vision. It cannot distinguish the fire from a ritual sacrament or the fire that is there on a hut, which is reducing everything to the residue as an ash. The fire that is there at the funeral area, the fire that is there in the form of agony, anger and appetite in our stomach or in our heart, and the fire that is there in the form of tranquility in a lamp, the fire that is in the form of a constructive work in a furnace, or the fire that exists in our kitchen. How a naked eye can distinguish the functional variation or the functional disparity between all of these fires? It cannot be. But according to Shastras, fire has two dimensions. One is constructive and second is destructive. It is known. And among all of these two things, both constructive and destructive, still there are two things. One is provocative fire, second is invocative fire. The provocative fire is the fire which is provoked by means of a person's application by science. And invocative fire is the nature of divinity of fire, which is by invoking the deities or the god or goddess of fire or worship that is there concerned with the religious rites. So, even in the constructive area, we have two things. One is technical, second is traditional. One is scientific, second is spiritual. For example, if you have this Agni Sandhana is very much essential. In olden days, even now in most of the areas, they used to do Agni Mathana. They used to churn the fire and produce that ritualistic fire and establish that is Agni Sandhana, which is not there in most of the rituals. So this fire is entirely different, and whenever you demand fire, then the common fire occurs. Just as whenever you contact a big institution, it will reach the reception. Then if you say the particular room or the contact person or the details, then the reception connects or the information desk connects you with the particular person who is in need. Likewise, the common churning process or a common process of installation of fire that creates just fire, whether that is a Pachakagni, Mathanagni, Pakagni, then Deepagni, Havanagni, Vinashagni, Antyashtagni or Kashtagni, Havanagni, Yuttapanagni, Swatasigdhagni, Sadhyagni, Kshudhagni, Vipasagni, Krodhagni, Lobhagni, Mohagni, Thapagni, innumerable Agnis are there. So whenever you create an Agni, then it creates just a formal fire. Then we are making that prarthana, then we are requesting that Agni by Sankalpa. First we are making that Sankalpa that we are going to do something. Sankalpa is determination. Sankalpa is determination of mind in connection with a spiritual prowess. With the help of Bhagavatas, Acharyas, Rishis and great people, we are taking that Sankalpa. अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे सर्वा देवताः प्रीता भवन्तु इति महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु महर्षि सर्वे अत्र समुपस्थिता भवेयुः इति महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु सर्वे महर्षयः परमर्षयः आचार्याः संतृप्ता अनेन कर्मणा इति महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु. So all of these things are not mere verbal phrases under associations. Those things are the expositions of our spiritual determination. So whenever a person insults the Agni and immediately invokes that part of Agni which we want. So Agni has innumerable names. He is known as Hutashana. Hutashana means whatever you give, he consumes. Whatever you give, he consumes. At that time he is known as Hutashana. Then he takes only the Sara. He takes only the Sara, that is the subtlety. There he is known as Avirbhuk. Then he purifies all of these things and converts them into impulses. Whatever the dravya that you do, for example, if you are putting a dravya inside that, let it be Ashvattha. Ashvattha Prajavriddhi. There are two things. If the person is a divide of progeny, it is Prajavriddhi. It is more progeny. Those who are already progenic, blessed with good progeny, it is Prajavriddhi. It is Kshema. It is benefit for the progeny and the progenic development in academic success, in professional success, in moral success or traditional success to create an unbreakable lineage and not to break the already existing lineage. That type of a capable and brave progeny must be there. Subira, Arishta Veera, Bhavema, so says the Veda. So in that particular area, Ashwatha you know that. So this Ashwatha is totally put inside. And this is burnt into pieces. What we are seeing, the peripheral fire that totally burns the peripheral ingredients of Ashwatha. Then the subtle fire, the Sukshma-Agni, that totally imbibes all the essentialities which are there in the form of intangible mode. Then all of the subtleties are converted into impulses. Those things are taken to the abode, to the concerned celestial. Then those things reach the Paramatma who is Antaryami, who is taking all the benefits through the Devatas. Then those things are showered as, these things are repaid as response. What is that response? Benedictory shower. Those things reach the person in the subtle form. Those things are exhibited or reflected in various grounds, resulting in benefits. And any person knowing this act will be benefited by the ritual. That type of Agni who consumes the peripheral substance is known as Hutashana, I have already told. And that type of the inner Agni who consumes the inner materials of the given Dravya. There are two inner materials. One is the inner material of the material. Second is the inner material of the doer. There are two doers. One is the predominant doer, second is associative doer. The predominant doers are known as Hota, Adhvaryu. Adhvaryu is a person who is presiding. Then Hota is a person who is doing with the rhythm. Then Udgata is a person who is playing the Saman. Then Brahma, then there is Vasishta, then there is Vishnu, and the associative doer is the Yajamana. So that type of Naipunya, the talent, as well as loyalty and belief in Shastras, and a person's Naishkamya, the person's non-result oriented divine attachment in doing this as a service to God and doing this as a tool for the upliftment of humanity or for prosperity of the world. So all of these subtleties of either the person's magnanimity, person's belief, loyalty and other things, as well as a person's mastery over the Shastras, mastery over the science of accentuology and accentology, the Swara Shastra and Prayoga Shastra. A person must be knowledgeable in Kalpa Shastra, in Shulva Sutra, in Shrauta Sutra, and also he must be very knowledgeable in Prapti Shakya, and he must be known with the Vidhana, and he must be knowing various things. One, there is the Vaidika Prakriya. Second is the Agama Prakriya. Third thing is Srishtachara. Fourth thing is Deshachara. Fifth thing is Sampradayika. All of these five things are there in the ritual. You can see that. The mantras which have been now recited, they are Shrauta in nature. They have been adapted from Vedas. Number two, whatever the personal rituals and the personal adornments of the people, they are from the Agamas of Pancharatra or Vaikanata, if they are Vaishnavas, and Shaiva Agamas are there, Shakta Agamas are there for the respective devotees. That is Agamika. The third thing is Shishtachara. Whatever that has been followed by them in tradition, that is Shishtachara. Deshachara, there are some special practice for Andhra Pradesh, which is not there in our area. That is Deshachara. And fifth thing is Sampradayika. They belong to the Vaishnava school of thought. So Vaishnava Guru Parampara, this Tirumanjana, Satumare, all of these things are not there with the other Sampradaya. So Sampradayika, Shishtachara, Deshachara, Agamika, Naigamika, Panchanvaya. So all of these five things are there. We are seeing the colors and varieties of all of these five things in this ritual. So in the second stage, the subtleties are imbibed by subtleties that lie with the doer, the person who is the Purohit, as well as the ingredients given. That is Dravya, Data and Yagika. All of these things are imbibed, wherein by that Agni is known as Havirbhuk. Then second, the person, that is the Agni, who carries everything, then he converts everything to impulses, spiritual impulses. That's why he is known as Pavaka. That is why he is known as Pavaka. Then he is taking that up Agram Nayatiti Agni. Then only he is known as Agni. We must not say that Agni has burnt my house. He is known as Anala. He is not Agni. The person who is burning your house is known as Anala. The person who is burning your fingers is Anala. The person who is radiating at the time of explosions and bombardments is Anala, not Agni. Agni is such a divine form of the great fire, the sacrificial fire, which is invoked and which is present only when Vedic mantras are chanted. So fire, that's why we used to say fire is different from Agni. One amongst the various highest office that the fire can hold is Agni. Agni is a name of, for example, if a person is, for example, if there is a collector who is a man, then the person is called as man, and that nomenclature of man that does not give the sanctity or depth or the greatness of a person to be called as a collector or governor. So man is name of the person's prosaic nomenclature. So that is just like fire. Like collector, governor, king, it is Agni. So it just we used to say like that. So Agni according to Shastras is the highest office that can be held by fire. At the time of sacrifice only it is possible. So Agni Mukhavai Devataha. There are innumerable kratus, innumerable ways are there. For example, this is known as Panchabhutas. As we are composed of Panchabhutas, we used to communicate God through Panchabhutas and He communicates only through the Panchabhutas. As we are material, as we are only meta-receptive, not meta-receptive, God communicates only with materials. That is why all the idols are made out of the most sophisticated forms of the earthly ingredients. So that is known as the Bhu Pratinidhya. That is a Pratinidhi of Bhu. And whatever the Abhisheka and Aradhana they are done, they are having the Pratinidhi of waters, Vari. And whatever we do by Kratu, that is the representation of fire in the highest office. And mantras are ether and air. What is sound? Sound is nothing but the friction of a wind in ether. By an urge, the wind is produced, channelized, and they are processed inside the vocal cords by means of pressure, closing, opening, and control. If you pressurize air, then it comes out. You must have read it in phonetics, all of these things. It is a Murtanya, Talvanta, Kantanta, Dantanta, Ortanta, innumerable things are there in phonetics. So, it is a process of pressurizing air, which are released, which are closed, and which are controlled, which you must have seen in a flute. It is known as a semi-note and open note and closed note, which are controlled by the pressures of wind instruments. Likewise, the Veda mantras are the sophisticated forms of ether and wind, or it is known as aero-etherical friction or pressure in the highest standard. So, in each and everything of these actions, we invoke each and every form of God, and Agni takes this stick to the Devatas, corresponding Devatas, who are the immediate receivers. At that time he is known as Havyavahaha. What is his name? Havyavahaha. That Agni takes that particular Havis, which is in the form of the subtler form of subtlety, to the respective deities. Then it reaches the person who is Mahabhuk. He is Bhutashana and he is known as Mahashana. It is Bhuta Bhuta and Eko Vishnu Mahadbhuta, Bhuta Mahabhuta. And these Devatas, whatever they consume, that is immediately consumed even before they consume. It is imbibed by Vishnu. That is why he is known as Agrabhuk. Whatever you eat now, even before you think to eat, God has thought that you must eat. And even before you eat, he has eaten it. So he is known as Agrabhuk. So he is a forerunner and he is a primogenitor and he chases you and wins the race of both the thought of your thought of eating and act of your act of eating. So he is known as Mahabhuta or Agrabhuk as told in the Shastras. So Grabhuk vibhajantishthan ahara majrak kavihi. So says the Veda. So he is such a great person. So when the Havyavaha takes all of these Havis to the concerned deities, then immediately it is imbibed by the Mahashana. Then the Mahashana, he does two types of benefits. One is Sadvaraka, second is Advaraka. Sadvaraka is benefit of God or blessings of God executed through deities or other channels. Advaraka is direct shower. Whenever the persons are contemplating through deities, then immediately God capacitates those deities so that the deities are capable of being benefactors for their devotees. So if the substations are charged by the main station, the substations can then charge the transformers and the other linkages. Likewise, the Mahashana or Mahabhuta, he capacitates the deity so that they can shower the benefits. That type of God is known as Deva Deva. Who is giving the Devas the Devatva? One who is making the Devas the real Deva. He is known as Deva Deva. If he has not blessed these Devas, then these Devas will totally lose their capability of sanctioning the desires, ambitions of their devotees or followers or their supporters, and they will lose their quality of being Devas. As he is the giver of Devas, even the Devatva, he is known as Deva Deva. Then the Devas are giving the benefits to their particular devotees, those who organize the ritual or something. And if it is a Vaishnava Kratu in which Vishnu is taken as the Angi and other Devas as Anga, if predominant deity is Vishnu, then he is directly blessing all of us in the form of impulses. For example, the mantras we have given it in the form of ether and air. Then the benefit of mantras will come through ether and air. We are having the portions of ether and air inside our body. It will be imbibed by the ether. The etheric impact will be imbibed by our ether. It is known as endophysical and exophysical. Endophysical ether. The aerial benefit by the air, and by the material benefit by the material pores which are there in the skin, and the Agni by the inbuilt Samana Agni inside, and the various other ingredients, whatever may be the source by which they have been emanated and distributed, the same sources will be the receptors. Then one more thing, how it will work. For example, I am searching for a marriage. Then we are doing a Havan. It is a Sri Sukta Homa, or it is a Lakshmi Sukta Homa, or it is any other mantra which is for Vivaga, which is mentioned in the Vedas, Agamas, or Tantra Shastras. Then immediately, by this process, we are now invocating Anala. Then Anala becomes Hutashana. Then he becomes Havirbhuk. Then he becomes Pavaka. Then he becomes Agni. Then he becomes Havyavaha. Then it reaches the Devatas. Then the Devatas, they are surrendering into the Mahashana. Then God becomes Devadeva. Then he becomes a benefactor of all of the Devatas. Then the deities are showering. And the quality by which God is showering his beneficial shower to the deities is known as Pravarsha. In Shastra they are known as Pravarsha. He is the shower of the God to the deities. And deities are giving the benefit to it is known as Varsha. So this is the process by which a ritual is happening. And how this works? I am willing to have a wife and I have done that Homa. And this Pravarsha and Varsha will create impulses that will work with the persons in the team. For example, if you want to get married, certainly you must have the contact of the person to whom you are going to get married. At least you must have a bride or a bridegroom to marry. Without that you cannot have individual marriage. It needs somebody's support. And that is known as Paratantriya, dependence. And for that either direct contact or indirect contact or tertiary contact or quadrilateral contact or remote contact, some contact must be there. For example, you are travelling in a vehicle. Unless Vidhi Vibhaga or Vidhi Vibhaga, both the things are explained with examples, it is very difficult to understand them. You travel in a vehicle and you travel with a person who is also there nearby, and you are there with a desire of getting married, and the person will be either a remote relative or even the bridegroom or the bridegroom's father, anybody it may be. It is just an example case study. If a person X has performed a ritual for getting married for matrimonial benefit, if he travels in a bus in which the neighbor is, for example, the father of the bride or bridegroom. So this sandhi is the benefit of that blessing, varsha or pravarka. So you are traveling in that vehicle. You are traveling in that vehicle. It is known as ashraya niyama. You are in that place now. You are within that premises where the other person is there. That is known as ashraya niyama. In that, if you are not there in that particular compartment, if you are there in the next compartment, you cannot communicate with them. That is known as sthana niyama. You are sitting in next to them. And third thing is sneha niyama. If that person is sleeping and if you have slept, there is no possibility of communication. There can be a maximum good morning, goodbye, thank you. There cannot be any effective and fruitful, mutually beneficial communication cannot be made. This sandhi is created by sneha. Who are you? Where are you from? And aikya. If it is just whereabouts, if you inquire and close your eyes for sleep or due to oversmoke, then you cannot get the real benefit. That is the marriage. You can come here and come to the benefit. Here. Here. So, it is a very wonderful topic and totally I am moodless today. So nothing is coming out. Still I try to put something out of my honesty. I must say something, whether that is followed or not, immaterial of the response. It is my duty to say something. So you are sitting nearby, you have communicated, and third thing is follow up, anuvartana. We meet lot of people. We just shake our hands, we say goodbye. Then there is no necessity that we must have follow-ups. We meet lot of people in railway stations, airports, and in shoppings. Then anuvartana. Then accidentally we meet again or we communicate for some other thing. Then we accidentally just discuss about the availability of a waiting soul here and also a corresponding soul there. Then immediately it locks. Either by misfortune or fortune it locks. And that blossoms into a matrimonial relation. How it works out? Very simple. This type of experience is not something, that is why he used to say, it is the will of God which is interpreted by fools as coincidental, incidental, accidental and casual. There is nothing known as yadrichavada, karanavada, yadharthavada, swabhavikavada, siddhavada, anishkaranavada, nishkaranavada, sakaranavada, sahetukavada, kevala hetukavada, innumerable vadas are there. Everything can be well placed under the umbrella of Bhagavad Sankalpa. It is known as Satya Sankalpa. It is only this which all the fools claim that with different names. So, if the person has really done that type of a ritualistic cycle, I have already told, starting from Anala and ending with Varsha, and that Varsha will induce into the mind of a person and it will be attuned with the others so that they will travel together, meet together, talk together, work together and finalize the proposal. So there will be dominance. For example, if that other side person is having dominance to travel on that day, we follow that. For example, if X has done the Homa, if Y has to travel necessitatedly on the day with that compartment, that time, then the impulse inside you will urge that you must also travel. It will create some sort of hetu. It is known as anushangika, prasangika and yadruchika. It will create an opportunity unavoidably, unexpectedly, unplanningly that you will also travel on the same compartment for some other purpose which may be useless here. It is the impulse on you. Whenever your homa is over, any kratu is over, immediately the impulse is spread on all things. For example, it is known as members of the team. If you want to have benefit, if you want to become Prime Minister, then there will be a team, effective team, who is going to make you Prime Minister. If you want to have marriage, for that marriage there will be an effective team. If you want to have business and success, there will be an effective team. If you want academic success, there will be a team. So these team people all must unanimously and effectively decide for that benefit. It is not a single person's work, you know that. So that impulse that drives into the minds of all members of the team and to create that they meet or discuss or somehow adjust within themselves so that the desired result is produced. It is a very wonderful mechanism. So that is why it is known as, I told, it is thermodynamics. It is the effect of the heat of the special dimension or the most salient dimension of the sacrificial fire which gives you all the desirous effects, provided it must be properly undertaken, properly surrendered and properly channelized by means of mantra, vidhana, niyama, achara, anushtana, diksha, vishwasa and prapatti. So if these angas are complete, then the benefit is also complete. And the second option is also there. I am planning to write a book on that. It is known as destinal mathematics. So if these things are made, lot of things, a lot of eye-opening projects can be made in the society, provided if we get a logistic, statistical, strategic and logical understanding of destiny is thrown lights in the society more. The second thing is, if you are there planning for the same day, August 15th I have to travel to Bombay. If your program is prefixed for some other reason, then the impulse which is hidden in your would-be's father, and they will lose their quality of being devas. As he is the giver of devas, even the devatva, he is known as Deva Deva. Then the devas are giving the benefits to that particular devotees, those who organize the ritual or something. And if it is a Vaishnava Kratu in which Vishnu is taken as the Angi and other devas as Anga, if predominant deity is Vishnu, then he is directly blessing all of us in the form of impulses. For example, the mantras we have given it in the form of ether and air. Then the benefit of mantras will come through ether and air. We are having the portions of ether and air inside our body. It will be imbibed by the ether. The etheric impact will be imbibed by our ether. It is known as endophysical and exophysical. Endophysical ether. The aerial benefit by the air, and by the material benefit by the material pores which are there in the skin, and the Agni by the inbuilt Samana Agni inside, and the various other ingredients, whatever may be the source by which they have been emanated and distributed, the same sources will be the receptors. Then one more thing, how it will work. For example, I am searching for a marriage. Then we are doing a Havan. It is a Sri Sukta Homa, or it is a Lakshmi Sukta Homa, or it is any other mantra which is for Vivaha, which is mentioned in the Vedas, Agamas or Tantra Shastras. Then immediately by this process we are now invocating Anala. Then Anala becomes Hutashana. Then he becomes Havirbhuk. Then he becomes Pavaka. Then he becomes Agni. Then he becomes Havyavaha. Then it reaches the Devatas. Then the Devatas, they are surrendering into the Mahashana. Then God becomes Devadeva. Then he becomes a benefactor of all of the Devatas. Then the deities are showering. And the quality by which God is showering his beneficial shower to the deities is known as Pravarsha. In Shastra they are known as Pravarsha. He is the shower of the God to the deities. And deities are giving the benefit to it, is known as Varsha. So this is the process by which a ritual is happening. And how this works, I am willing to have a wife and I have done that Homa. And this Pravarsha and Varsha will create impulses that will work with the persons in the team. For example, if you want to get married, certainly you must have the contact of the person to whom you are going to get married. At least you must have a bride or a bridegroom to marry. Without that you cannot have individual marriage. It needs somebody's support. And that is known as Paratantriya, dependence. And for that either direct contact or indirect contact or tertiary contact or quadrilateral contact or remote contact, some contact must be there. For example, you are travelling in a vehicle. Unless Vidhi Vibhaga or Vidhi Vibhaga, both the things are explained with examples, it is very difficult to understand them. You travel in a vehicle and you travel with a person who is also there nearby, and you are there with a desire of getting married, and the person will be either a remote relative or even the bridegroom or the bridegroom's father, anybody it may be. It is just an example case study. If a person X has performed a ritual for getting married for matrimonial benefit, if he travels in a bus in which the neighbor is, for example, the father of the bride or bridegroom. So this Sandhi is the benefit of that blessing Varsha or Pravarsha. So you are traveling in that vehicle. You are traveling in that vehicle. It is known as Ashraya Niyama. You are in that place now. You are within that premises where the other person is there. That is known as Ashraya Niyama. In that, if you are not there in that particular compartment, if you are there in the next compartment, you cannot communicate with them. That is known as Sthana Niyama. You are sitting in next to them. And third thing is Sneha Niyama. If that person is sleeping and if you have slept, there is no possibility of communication. There can be a maximum good morning, goodbye, thank you. There cannot be the effective and the fruitful, mutually beneficial communication cannot be made. The Sandhi is created by Sneha. Who are you? Where are you from? And Aikya, if it is just whereabouts, if you inquire and close your eyes for sleep or due to oversmoke, then you cannot get the real benefit. That is the marriage. You can come here and come to the visit. Here. Here. So, it is a very wonderful topic and totally I am moodless today. So, nothing is coming out. Still, I try to put something out of my honesty. I must say something, whether that is followed or not, immaterial of the response. It is my duty to say something. So, you are sitting nearby, you have communicated. And third thing is follow up, anuvartana. We meet lot of people. We just shake our hands, we say goodbye. Then there is no necessity that we must have follow-ups. We meet lot of people in railway stations, airports and in shoppings. Then anuvartana. Then accidentally we meet again or we communicate for some other thing. Then we accidentally just discuss about the availability of a waiting soul here and also a corresponding soul there. Then immediately it locks. Either by misfortune or fortune, it lasts, and that blossoms into a matrimonial relation. How it works out? Very simple. This type of experience is not something. That is why he used to say, it is the will of God, which is interpreted by fools as coincidental, incidental, accidental, and casual. There is nothing known as Yadruchavada, Karanavada, Yadharthavada, Swabhavikavada, Siddhavada, Anishkaranavada, Nishkaranavada, Sakaranavada, Sahetukavada, Kevala Hetukavada, innumerable vadas are there. Everything can be well placed under the umbrella of Bhagavat Sankalpa. It is known as Satya Sankalpa. It is only this which all the fools claim that with different names. So, if the person has really done that type of a ritualistic cycle, I have already told, starting from Anala and ending with Varsha, and that Varsha will induce into the mind of a person and it will be attuned with the other so that they will travel together, meet together, talk together, work together and finalize the proposal. So there will be dominance. For example, if that other side person is having dominance to travel on that day, we follow that. For example, if X has done the Homa, if Y has to travel necessitatedly on the day with the compartment that time, then the impulse inside you will urge that you must also travel. It will create some sort of hetu. It is known as Anushangika, Prasangika and Yadruchika. It will create an opportunity unavoidably, unexpectedly, unplanningly that you will also travel on the same compartment for some other purpose which may be useless here. It is the impulse on you. Whenever your Homa is over, any Kratu is over, immediately the impulse is spread on all things. For example, it is known as members of the team. If you want to have benefit, if you want to become Prime Minister, then there will be a team, effective team, who is going to make you Prime Minister. If you want to have marriage, for that marriage there will be an effective team. If you want to have business and success, there will be an effective team. If you want academic success, there will be a team. So these team people all must unanimously and effectively decide for that benefit. It is not a single person's work, you know that. So that impulse that drives into the minds of all members of the team and to create that they meet or discuss or somehow adjust within themselves so that the desired result is produced. It is a very wonderful mechanism. So that is why it is known as, I told, it is thermodynamics. It is the effect of the heat of the special dimension or the most salient dimension of the sacrificial fire, which gives you all the desirous effects, provided it must be properly undertaken, properly surrendered and properly channelized by means of mantra, vidhana, niyama, achara, anushtana, diksha, vishwasa and prapatti. So if these angas are complete, then the pyramid is also complete. And the second option is also there. I am planning to write a book on that. It is known as destinal mathematics. So if these things are made, lot of things, a lot of eye-opening projects can be made in the society, provided if we get a logistic, statistical, strategic and logical understanding of destiny is thrown lights in the society more. The second thing is, if you are there, planning for the same day, August 15th, I have to travel to Bombay. If your program is prefixed for some other reason, then the impulse which is hidden in your would-be's father, they are ever ready for you. And second thing is sadhya. If you want a good progeny, that is not there for you. You have to get that by means of practice. It is known as sadhya. So I have told about a single thing known as marriage, vivaha prapti. The same thing you can get in vivaha prapti, vivaha aikya siddhi, pati patni aikya siddhi, bhava siddhi, paraspara yoga siddhi, putra sandhana prapti, putra yoga, then putrena labha prapti, then sandhati vritti, then pitru dosha nivarana, devata shapa nivarana, then puva janma papa nivarana, then vyadhi, kshaya, durbhiksha, mantra, yantra, tantra, visha, abhichara, shunya. So innumerable hurdles are there and innumerable desires are there for people. In udyoga, in adhyayana, in patavi, in videsha yatra, videsha siddhi, there are innumerable things are there. Vaideshika is a vidya which is for foreign settlement and foreign transactions. Either foreign transactions are for three things. One is vanijya, one is for getting trade relations. Second is academic relations, adhyayana. And the third thing is ashraya, taking there to be our shelter or for settlement, either interim or permanent. So for each and every walk of human desire or the human requirement, there are innumerable tools that have been mentioned in the Shastras. Amongst which the ritual is the simplest tool. And each and every astika, each and every believer of God, they are doing lot of things. They are going to temples and they are doing lot of pujas in their family and they are organizing lot of festivals and various things are being done. But nothing is as perfect or as complete as a ritual. Because ritual consists of everything. You cannot organize such a ritual in your family. And you cannot organize such a routinal or daily ritual in your family. And you are getting some sort of benefits which are very much a part of contrary mathematics. There are 10 rupees. The 10 rupees are divided for 10 people. Each and everybody will get 1. It is known as normal arithmetic, which is known to a normal person's common sense even. Whereas in spirituality, it is known as Ganita Vaiparitya, which is contra-arithmetic in nature. If one person organizes a divine sanction or a divine service and which is bestowed by 10 units of divine energy or divine munificence, and if 10 people they organize, it will not be shared among the people equally, it will not become 1 unit. The 10 units are multiplied into 10 and each and everybody will get that 10. If it is given for 100 people, it will be multiplied 100 times, then each and everybody will get the same. According to spirituality, there are two things. One is equivalence and hypervalence. If lot of people organize, they get equal benefits. If a person thinks that lot of people have to be organized, he will get 10 times more than what he can get if he applies this thing for his own self. That is known as hypervalence. It is known as samanatva and abhyadikya. What is abhyadikya? Abhyadika is known as a person getting more and samana is person getting the same. If a person organizes it with all, then the person gets equal benefit. If a person has the desire as well as the staunch commitment that it must be organized for a number of people, then the person gets it multifold. For the reason, the Shastra says that there are 10 reasons. Number 1, if you take your own, it is a very famous quote in the Shastras, you must all memorize it. If you organize a ritual for you in your house, you will be lesser benefited and blessed by God more than that of if you organize for a common benefit, you will be blessed more. How it can be rationally established? There are innumerable things, but because of lack of time, I want to just quote a very vehement and powerful point. Then if you are doing sankalpa for you, there are a lot of hindrances that are coming as an obstacle for you. For example, whenever you ask for some benefit, immediately God will ask, what is your qualification? What you have done yesterday? What you have done the previous year? I have given you more than what you deserve. Whenever a person asks for himself, there are 5 hindrances. One is Purva Punya Papa. And the second thing is Aihika Punya Papa, whatever he has done now. Sangha Punya Papa, whatever the associates they have committed, your family people and other people are done. And Audasinya, wherever he has failed to take essential steps. So Audasinya is also a Papa. You are not doing Papa, but you are perfectly or prevaricated in taking effective steps for removing your sins. That is Audasinya, carelessness. Not committed any sin at all, but you are negligent and careless. Carelessness is also any sin. Carelessness. And the 5th thing is Alpakartrutva. You could have done something more. So there is parimiti and aparimiti. In divine service it is aparimiti, and in human service it is parimiti. When you are doing your daughter's marriage, you must see how much you are financially capable of. Whenever you are doing to God, you must see how He is and how much He is capable of receiving our gratitude. And whenever you are organizing for you are taking loans and you are borrowing, there are a lot of things. Yachana, Rina, Nikshepa, Vikraya, then Taskaratva, innumerable sadhanas are there. 3 things are known as Subhashraya and 3 things are Ashubhashraya. Good, better, best, bad, worst, worst. Whatever you are having, you are submitting everything. That is good. You are submitting whatever you are having. Second thing is Rikshepa. More than what you have, you are mortgaging everything. Then Vikraya is known as selling everything. These things are very limited. They are not harming others. Then the bad thing is Yachana, begging. Then Rina, getting loan is worse. Then Chora or Chaurya, that is stealing, is worst. So according to Shastras, there are a lot of people like Ramadasa, like Tirumangayalvar or Paratala, those who have crossed the barriers of ethical principles for serving the God. And that is possible only to few people. It is not a common rule for all. But what we want to say is, now it has been made in an adverse manner that whatever you want to do for us, we are crossing the limit. We have to do within the limits. And we are claiming for all of our limitations whenever we are sought for the divine service. So, Alpakartrutva is more than what you desire, more than what you deserve, or more than what you have. That is known as Kartrutva. So, Alpakartrutva means just being so parsimonious, generously parsimonious, while it comes to the question of doing something to God. So these 5 things come for hindrance whenever you are going for a divine service in your name. Then immediately the accounts will be taken. So whenever you want to go for something, some benefits in some bank or anything, they will ask for the previous statement, then 6-month statement, other things, whatever the formalities are there. Likewise, whenever you go for a personal sanction, immediately that of things will be taken. And if our records are taken, we deserve punishment rather than relishment. So we lose our qualification to get into that. So according to Shastra, they told that it is secure, it is safe, and it is very much beneficial and spiritually very much observable if a person goes for a common cause. Because if a person goes for a common cause and universal benefit, only his idea is taken into consideration by God, not the person who does the idea. When a person goes for his own benefit, immediately the person who thinks that is given predominant role rather than the thing that is desired. Because of the value. See, anybody, it is a common, anybody taking care of the children and building a shelter, protecting the shelter is common with rats and cockroaches. What is the speciality in human beings approaching God and asking for a place to live and a job to survive and good children, education? What is that? They are such advanced cockroaches. Or enhanced rats. Drilling in departments. Nothing special. Just as the cockroaches and rats, they are asking in that domain. You are asking in your own domain. Maybe somewhat different or sophisticated or enhanced. That makes no difference. So it is quite common. Any person asking these things to God. So whenever great things are asked, only the thing is evaluated by God, not the asker. Whenever filthy things are asked, the things are not evaluated. The person asked his evaluation, his assessment, his agathological assessment has been taken. Note this agathology, A-G-A-T-H-O-L-O-G-Y. Agathology is the study of Punya and Papa. Somebody must create an encyclopedia of agathology, the imprints of virtue and sin. Really, agathology, aritology, thaumatology, this thermodynamics, ontothermodynamics, then onto-spirituality, eschatology, metaphysics. All of these things must be very soon published by a committee of people in Vedic wisdom or encyclopedia. It is not mere Suprabhata, Sahasranama and Bhagavad Gita. Numerous things hidden inside them. It is known as agathology. So, Vishwashanti Havana gives you more benefit. And number two, whenever a person showers, what is that area or what is that impact that we are getting through Vishwashanti Havana? There are three things. Immediately by doing Vishwashanti Havana, we cannot think that now we are having a lot of political instability in most of the areas of the world. We are seeing terrorism ruling in most places. In a lot of the places there is total malnutrition. In Ethiopia, in Somalia, we are having a lot of infant mortality rate more than lot of this lack of proper nutrition to children, hunger, then poverty, unemployment and various other ugly heads they dance there. How this is going to help? Certainly it is going to help. The first layer or first level of people are those people who are organizing here. So it benefits the first level of people. For what? For getting more capability to do more havans. And also to get the mind to commit more havans. Most must be there. Both of these things must be there with a person. He must have both the mind to do and as well as the mind to do. Both the things are enhanced by these rituals. A person getting what is the benefit? Somebody told what is the benefit by putting money in the hundial of temple. Then immediately told in Shastras it is told Akarane Pratyavayam. What is Akarane Pratyavaya? If a person puts 10,000 rupees in the hundi, he is relieved from the sin of not putting that 10,000 rupees before that second. Before that second. Till that second he has not put that money inside that hundial. That sin is relieved. So, that is the immediate benefit. The second, a lot of benefits are there. What is the first benefit, second benefit, third benefit? If you are organizing a ritual, what is the immediate benefit? You are relieved from the sin of not committing such type of rituals before. That is Akarane Pratyavayaha. Vedeshu Ukta Achara Kratunam Anushthanena Tad Akaranasya Pratyavaya Vimochanameva Prathamam Paramushtete. Whatever you do as per the Vedas, the first benefit, immediate benefit you are giving by surrendering to a spiritual master, you are doing namaskara. What is the benefit? You are relieved from the sin of not doing namaskara to him. You are going to the temple. What immediate benefit is there? You are relieved from the sin of not entering to the temple before that second. That is the immediate benefit. Second benefit is tad vriddhi. Tadakarana papa vimochana tad vriddhi tadanya vriddhi. There are three benefits. We must go to some other place like Haridwar, Rishikesh, and it must be a full day session talking about such things. There are three benefits. Can you kindly repeat for me? Tad akarana papa mochanam. Tad akarana papa vimochanam. Tad vardhanam or tad vriddhi. Taditara vriddhi. Tad akarana papa vimochana. The first benefit is by doing the thing you are emancipated from the sin of not doing that thing before. That is tad akarana papa mochanam. Second thing is tat vriddhi. Whatever you are doing, you will be hyper potentialized to do that thing more. If you are going inside the temple, the second benefit is you will be given that benefit or gift by God. You will be blessed by God that you will punah darshana prapti rastu. If you are doing a kratu, punah kratu karana prapti rastu. So whenever you organize a ritual, the second benefit is you are getting the blessings of God to do more rituals. Then the third thing is, by doing the rituals, taditara vriddhi. By doing these rituals, you are getting, unless you get mind, you cannot do that. So you must get that magnanimity. That is a blessing. You must have mental peace inside the family, without which you cannot do that. So your family will be everything only for the purpose of organizing the ritual. You will get all benefits. I have already told one story, which I want to just quote it once more. When a king was giving gifts to a lot of these people who participated in the war and made it a tremendous success, each and everybody they were asking thousands of cows, villages, gold and other various valuables. Then when a person asked that the king must come and stay in his house for a month, then immediately everybody was asking, what is his purpose? He is spoiling everything. He must have got some gold or some valuables or some precious diamonds and other gems. He is troubling the king as well as troubling himself by imaging the king. How he is going to accommodate and how to create hospitality. Whether the king is to get into hospitalization or hospitality. If it is that a remote place, this 1 month, how he is going to survive that? How he is going to take care of that white elephant? Then the minister told, really that is not a problem. Really that is a very clever idea. That person is the most cleverest person of all. Then because they have to put pathways to go to that person's house. There is no pathway. The king has to stay. There is no stay house. There is no water facility. So they started digging wells. And the person's house was very normal. So they constructed a very palatial mansion. And there were no proper provisions. So they installed all the provisions. And the king is a widower. He took his daughter also. The daughter. So the daughter, she has fallen in love with the commander-in-chief. And they had their Gandharva Vivaha done. Then the person after 6 months, he became the king. So this is the story. So, a person organizing a ritual is different from a person organizing himself. If you want peace for yourself, you will be refused because you don't deserve it. If you want prosperity, it will be refused because you don't deserve it. If you want development, it will be refuted. You will be thrown away because you don't deserve it. But if you want to do a ritual, that will be sanctioned because that is a sublime idea or a sublime principle. And for doing that ritual, you must be in a peaceful mode. Your family must be harmonious. You must have development in your business. Unless these things are sought, you cannot do it effectively. So for that sublime purpose, for that greater purpose, if a person is just framing himself, then he is getting that deserving nature for all the benefits. Such as a heavy rain makes the water to ooze from the well of his house. A heavy shower of universal benefit makes the wells of our personal complacence and our necessities fulfilled. So this is the process of doing that. So more than what you have done. Really, if you want to say, the real homas are done for a prosperous way only if it is advocated for universal benefit. I want to say something. Whatever that are doing for your family members or within your family, those things are done for a sankhya, because those things are to be organized. The real benefaction is given only through universal rituals. We are putting innumerable things inside, ingredients inside. Just as I have already told at Pune, that there are innumerable members of parliament representing the whole community of India. Likewise, there is a parliament of all earthly ingredients. We cannot have all things to be put inside that. So there is a proper way of putting the ingredients. Each and every ingredient of representative for a family of species in the earth. So we are putting all of these things. I have also forwarded one mail to most of the people here, in which I have given the name of the ingredients along with the botanical term. I have forwarded to all. So it is an area wherein by the fire, by the radiation, by the vibration created by mantras, we are getting ourselves consecrated. We are permeating also the other surroundings. We are also making our divinity ubiquitous in the wholesome society so that all are benefited. So rituals are the simplest, greatest, purest forms of worship, especially for the runners of the modern society who have no time, and sinners of the modern society, those who want to have the deserving nature. It is the most simplest, purest, as well as the rarest form of worship. As We have seen lot of people in our Puranic ages who are continuously engaged in the process of rituals. It is our duty to take care of these rituals which are there in the fading stage. Now rituals are being done in a very prosaic manner without knowing the meanings at all. And as the meanings are not known to the people who are doing, and the listeners and organizers, they don't know the sounds at all. What about the meanings then later? They don't know about even the mantras. So a proper way of understanding of mantras must be there, both with the Yajamanas as well as the Aggikas or retreats, so that we can be a watchdog whether the real mantra is read or not. Number one. Number two, the mantras are totally error-free, or the holistic system of the ritualistic principles, whether they have been totally adhered to or not. Number three, the complete system has been loyally followed or not. So we can see mistakes, interpolations, omissions and abnormities in rituals only if we have a thorough handbook. Otherwise whatever they do, as we don't know Sanskrit, they can just read some other Ramayana and Mahabharata, or if we just used to hear Rama, Krishna and Swaha, we will think that some God's name is given and Swaha is done, so the ritual is over. Whether all of these things are properly done or not, we must have a handbook. Handbook may be in Telugu or English. All the steps must be there, and we must watch whether they are doing or not. I have already told we must not be very much bother about the time. And I have explained that in my article. Whenever you are entrusting your relative to a surgeon, you cannot fix the time. You can take my father and do the operation, but tomorrow 4:30 he is having a meeting. So whenever a person is entrusted to a surgeon, all of his relations, they are meeting, your love and affection, his transactions, his development, his job and business, his rest and comfort, availability of funds, everything is totally sacrificed. Only the person's upliftment or his life is taken into account. Likewise, if you come to a sacrificial ground, you must throw away your watches. Because it is not bounded by time. You must not ask. There are two things. Leaving in the middle, that makes you to lose the benefit. And asking the person to stop in the middle or to totally asking the person to contract all the activities so that it can be finished within 2 or 3 hours, that is also nonsense. Can you say that to a surgeon? You cannot say that. So, we must know the mantra. There are two rules. One is you must know Sanskrit, you must prepare a manual of mantras to see that the things are properly done. And second thing is leaving it in midway and asking them to stop at a midway, or asking them to simplify the rituals, that will spoil you the benefit. Then how you can expect a good benefit? Marriages are conducted for 3 days with more mantras. So even though with limitation or with a lot of various other misunderstandings, they used to have an adjustive mode, and for mutual understanding, forgivingness and forgetting nature, they have developed their progeny and still we are sojourning in the world. Now no marriage ritual is there. You are standing in the reception shaking hands for 6 hours. Why can't you sit very comfortably, peacefully for 3 hours before the ritual fire? You are standing for 6 hours. Why can't you do that? Then you are saying that there is a quarrel between husband and wife and it is ending in divorce. There are no good children and we have got Kamsa and Shishupala in our family. Why you are reporting to the people and why you are charging or accusing the rituals? Who is doing the rituals fully? You have not done the Upanayana. See, you have not sown the seeds, you have not irrigated, you have not fenced. Why you are coming for the harvest? What will be there in the harvest? All ritual is properly there. The rituals are not properly, then why you are organizing this thing? Just for your show or for a time waste or a criminal waste of your hard-earned money and energy? It is quite nonsense. So you must know these things and you must see that it is thoroughly done. Unless you carry this thing for 10 months, how can you expect a full-fledged child or babe? So you must have the patience to sit, to attend and organize such a ritual for its fullest time. Then only you can get the fullest benefit. See, for getting the benefit, which will be everlasting for your life, also for your succeeding life and generation, why can't you waste 2 or 3 days? So you are wasting 3 or 4 years for something. Somebody told, I finished my BE and I am going to MBA. So you have wasted that 5 years. So if you are ready to waste 5 years of your energy, investment, hope, desire and everything, your father's investment, everything, etc., just you are making it totally futile in a single day. And for the wholesome, everlasting fructification of your life, why can't you be patient for this thing? God gives you two examinations. One is Titiksha, second is Vishwasa. Patience and belief are the two examinations given to you by God. If you fail in this examination, then nothing will be God given. And whatever that you are now harvesting and thinking that it is God given is not out of your imperfection. Then I already told, Purva Krita, Purta Karma Janitam Va, Purvaihi Krita, Purta Karma Janitam Va, Iti Pratipadyate. This is Karma Vibhaga. Then somebody asked, I am not perfect, but still God is blessing me. There are three reasons. One is, even though you are imperfect now, you must have done something perfect in your previous birth. This is the benefit for that perfection. It is not the benefit of your present imperfection. Number two, you will be having the blessings or wishes of your ancestors or divine personalities who are perfect. So, imperfection cannot bring perfection. It must be the produce of some other perfection due to some other people or some other perfection at some other area or some other birth you have done. The third thing, it is God's divine sanction. It is a clemential shower of God. Even though you are imperfect, you are giving grace marks. You are being given grace marks by God so that you can realize the value of mercy and you can augment your performance still more. But that is always misspelled and mismanaged. Mercy is a manual for corrigibility in good-minded people. Mercy is the best punishment for those who are with conscience. Somebody is doing a mistake. If the person is really conscient, if the person is having honesty in the mind, which will be the best punishment? I forgive you, just go lost. Get lost. I forgive you by heart. So, that mercy, forgiving is the worst punishment that can be given to a person, provided the person is with conscience and honesty. And it is a management of his own if a person is just merciful. And if he is showing his mercy to somebody who takes that mercy as a manual for his incorrigibility, he is doing more mistakes. There are two things. Mercy is often considered as incapability. All great divine personalities, they can immediately punish people, but they don't punish. That mercy is often understood as incapability or emasculinity by normal people. That person is not punishing us, he is just withstanding all of these things, he is bearing all of us. So he is totally incapable, so we can extend our cooperation like this again. It is nonsense here, it is not incapability. It is out of mercy. They think that if they also do like that, then they will be hardly distinguishable from ours. If those people they also behave like us, then what will be the distinguishability and difference between them and us? Only to be in a distinguishable flavor, they are not doing those things. So, we are just now living in this world because of a handful of perfection, a limited perfection that we have done in our Esther births. As our ancestors before 5 or 6 generations, they were perfect, and as they were not exposed to science and technology, they were not exposed to political and economical these uproarings. Those people, they were very honest, as they were in the rural society, they were in the immaculate society, they were in the unalloyed society of the Esther millennia. They were very perfect. Whatever we are doing now, whatever we are happy, and wherever we are successful, please understand that they are the benefits which have come from our ancestors before 1000 years, before 6 generations. Or whatever the good that we have, either knowledgeably or unknowingly that we have done in our previous births, before 5 or 6 births we have done. These two things are the only reasons for our well-being or success that we are doing now, and we are totally imperfect. If we are not going to make ourselves perfect now, we are not going to leave anything for our forthcoming generations. They will be with the gold and silver, they will be with house and car, but they will be in streets. They will be buried inside their houses. They will be buried with gold and other valuables, like mummies, like the Egyptian. Because I have already told that is Apaya Nidhi, this is Upaya Nidhi. We are not going to augment dharma, charity and morality, then these mortals, they are going to be totally thrown away in the society. You can send them to school. You can spend by spending to auditorium and video and by spending for fees and everything, you can organize marriages. Who will fructify the marriage and education? The purpose of education is knowledge, fulfillment, harmony. And the purpose of a marriage is mutual integrity. And education is knowledge. Good progeny from marriage. So everything has its own benefits. Without getting the benefit, organizing mere ceremonies, organizing very apparent ceremonies without getting the benefit, that is useless. So it is our duty to understand that we are imperfect, and I have already told about the two major factors for the contribution of our present well-being, and today is the dawn for each and everybody. We must be awakened, and we must also awaken our dependent and surrounding society, and we must make them that understand that very clearly. We must create the spark and spirit inside their mind that they must attempt towards the pathway of righteousness, the pathway of perfection. Immediately attaining righteousness is not a 2 days or a weekly job. It is a job which is very arduous, which is very Herculean even. It will consume its own time. But let us initiate it from today, and let us believe that the radiation of the mantric and tantric effulgence and brilliance that has come out of the today's ceremony, that could penetrate into the minds of each and everybody, qualifying us to be a capable tool and container of divine radiance or divine benevolence, by which we are going to charge ourselves, recharge ourselves, and also we are going to charge our accomplices to create a reformed society from this today's deformed society. Narayan, Narayan, Narayan.